Hi everyone, and welcome to Two-Player Quest, where I help you on your quest to find the best two-player board games for you. In today's video, we have Gloomhaven by Cephalofair Games. In Gloomhaven, you play as a group of adventurers, each with your own card decks, special card abilities, and modifier decks. In this campaign sort of choose-your-own-adventure game, you fulfill your missions and defeat the foes that you come across. But with how many people is it good? Well, let's find out. Gloomhaven is a game for 1 to 4 players that plays in 60 to 120 minutes, so an hour to 2 hours per scenario. Now, depending on the scenario and depending on how many people you are, that can be correct. With the 2 of us, it can probably be about 2 hours, but if you're playing with 4 people, then it will be longer. So take that with a pinch of salt. It's at a 3.91 on Board Game Geek for complexity, so it's a relatively difficult, medium to difficult game, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And it is a medium luck game. So it depends on the modifiers, your own as well as the enemy modifiers. If you're drawing terribly and the monsters are drawing crits all the time, it's not going to go well for you, as well as the monster abilities. So sometimes the monsters do a certain thing, and if they do a certain thing a few too many times, then you will be dying. So it all sort of depends on a few things. This is what the starting setup can look like at the start of a Gloomhaven scenario. So I have set up for scenario number 1. Here is the board, my character sheet, my deck, modifiers and items, plus my scenario character sheet. On the left hand side we have the monsters, the token tray. Every scenario, or at least between every scenario, we're going to start in Gloomhaven. And in Gloomhaven you can do certain things. For example, you can do a city quest, you read the text, you choose what you want to do, and the back will show you what happens. In Gloomhaven is also where you level up if you have enough XP, and it's also where you can donate to the sanctuary to gain blesses. So you give a certain amount of money to the sanctuary and you gain blesses by helping the church. Then after leaving Gloomhaven, you start with a road scenario. Again, the same with the city scenario. You read the text, make your choice, and it will tell you on the back what to do. The scenario book will tell you the story behind the scenario, what happens when, what to set up, and what you gain. One other thing I forgot to mention was the element board. At the start of every scenario, a player gains 2 mission cards, 2 personal quests. These are personal missions you can do during this mission, and if you achieve it, you will gain either 1 or 2 check marks, which can be used to upgrade your modifier deck. Now, this is what the board looks like at the start of this round. Every character has a certain number of cards in their hands that starts with depending on the number on your character sheet. Now, on your turn, you will choose 2 of the cards you have in your hand, and you'll play 1 card with the top and 1 card with the bottom action. And you can choose what card you want to use as initiative. So if you were to play these 2 cards, you can choose to go on initiative number 9 or initiative number 86. Now, the enemies we currently see are bandit guards, who at the moment have 6 HP, 3 movement and 2 attack. And if they were elite, they would have 9 HP, 2 movement, 3 attack and a shield 1. The scoundrel player, which is this one here, decides to do these 2 cards this turn and decides to go on number 33. The other character chooses 2 of their cards, and then we see who starts. The bandit guards draw 1 of their cards. They go on initiative 50 and they move +0 and attack +0. So they use their move and attack stats. As the scoundrel going on 33, that is before 50, so the scoundrel starts first, and they are going to do an attack 4 at range 4 and a move 3 poison 1 adjacent enemy. So they are going to start with the attack 4 at range 4. Now both enemies are at full range, but they are choosing the one on the left. When you attack, you draw an attack modifier. This can be both positive and negative, and there are crit hits and crit misses in there. So my character does an attack 4 +0. That means they do 4 damage to that monster. And next they move 3 and apply a poison. Then it is the next person in initiative order's turn. So in this case, that would be the guards, who now fight back. So first they move, and then they attack with their own attack modifier deck. So the first one, number 1, attacks with an attack 2, plus 0 is 2 damage, and then you take 2 damage. And then the next one also attacks, but also gains 1 damage itself because it is poisoned. And then the other players in initiative order do their things. Once everybody has been in their turn, the next turn starts. The story and the scenario will tell you what to do and how to win the scenario. Once you have won, you will gain your rewards. A scenario is lost if all players are exhausted. That can happen by either having no more cards left in your hand or in your draw pile, or if you lose all HP. The 2 cards you played in a turn go to your discard pile. Once you have no more cards in your hands, or not the cards that you want, you can choose to either long rest or short rest. Long rest costs you a round. You go at initiative 99, you heal 2 HP, and you can choose which of the cards from your discard pile go into your lost pile, which you will not get back this combat. Or you can short rest by randomly grabbing 1 card from your discard pile and putting it in your lost pile, but this does not cost a turn. Teaching Gloomhaven to new players will probably cost you about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on their level of board game knowledge and how quickly they pick things up, of course. After that 20 to 30 minutes, you'll want to spend probably about another 10 to 15 on your actual character, so checking out your character, seeing what it does, choosing the cards you want to take, making your deck, stuff like that. And then after that, you can get started with the game. Now, if you played Jaws of the Lion, which is basically the get into Gloomhaven game, so learn the mechanics slowly but gradually, then you can get going a lot quicker because you basically already know how the mechanics work, and all you have to do is get to know your new character. So, who would I recommend Gloomhaven to? Now, if you've played Frosthaven, and for some reason you started at Frosthaven, Gloomhaven is an excellent fit. I must say Gloomhaven is a bit simpler than Frosthaven, but in general, if you liked Frosthaven, you will probably like the mechanics of Gloomhaven because they're pretty much the same by the same maker. If you are not familiar with the Frosthaven, Gloomhaven franchise, as I'm going to call it, if you are someone who likes a very long campaign game, you will be playing a lot of scenarios in this game. It is a slight deck building game. Every level that you level up, you can choose between 1 or 2 of... There's 2 cards you can choose 1 of, basically. And it's a lot of strategy in choosing what cards to combine at what point. So if that's something you like, then I most certainly would recommend this. There's a lot of strategy in combining characters and combining strategies between characters, which is also a lot of fun. And there's a lot of different enemies in this game. So the diversity is very big in this game. One thing I would say, if you are unfamiliar with the franchise, as I'm going to call it, I would recommend starting with Jaws of the Lion. Now, Jaws of the Lion is basically the introduction game that they brought out after Gloomhaven to introduce you to the mechanics of Gloomhaven. Now, Gloomhaven is not a cheap game. Jaws of the Lion is a lot cheaper and a good way to teach you how to play the game and see if you are actually interested in the mechanics. So if you're looking into buying Gloomhaven and you have no experience with it, I would highly recommend getting Jaws of the Lion first, seeing if you like it, and if you do like it, then look into buying either Gloomhaven or Frosthaven. We really like Gloomhaven. If you've seen our semi-recent top 5 games of the year, you will know that this made a top 5 for both of us. We have played Gloomhaven, we've played I think 3 full campaigns by now. One sort of, the first one you initially try everything. The second one we chose a bit of the evil path, and then we just keep going. One of the things we like is the unlockable part of things. So you start with 6 characters that are unlocked, and you unlock new characters by doing quests and doing your personal quests. So that's something we really enjoy, that you can basically unlock these new options to have. Now, I will admit that the second time we played the game, we just continued on with the unlocks we had. So we decided that we could play these other characters if we wanted to. The characters are quite diverse, but they're also quite simple in most aspects. You either have a caster, or you have someone who does a lot of damage, or you have a medic, or they're still quite simple in terms of rules, which is also something we really liked, that it's just so... it's easier to understand than other games who want to introduce complex rules. In general, we like the strategy. We like the way that the game flows. You choose the cards in your hands, then you play them. The initiative is really interesting because it's another part to play with, to hope you go first, but you don't know whether you're going first because you're not allowed to communicate about it. But at some point you sort of can say, oh, I'm going quickly, and then at some point you know how quickly is for someone else because you sort of get to know their cards. So it's a really fun aspect for us that you can sort of lack the communication but sort of know what they're doing. For us, we just really like this game. The surprises that it sometimes brings, the diversity of monsters that there is also big. So a lot of the quests feel different. So that's something that we also really enjoy. So in general, we really like this game. Gloomhaven plays very well with more players. In general, it is easier with 4 characters than it is with 2, and certain scenarios are not made for 2 players. Certain scenarios you can barely do with 2 players, but work very well with 4. We haven't really noticed anything the other way round. So I have found it would be best with 4 characters. Now, playing 4 characters with 4 different people is doable, but depending on how often you play, a campaign takes about at least 50 scenarios. So if you do 1 scenario every 2 weeks, that's about 2 years. And if you do 1 scenario a week, that's at least a year. So that is a long amount of time and a big investment that you want to look into whether you want to do that, because it's just going to take a while. Now, what we personally do with the 2 of us is we both take 2 characters, which means that we can play whenever we want. We still have the 4 characters, which is sort of optimal for this game, I've found, and we really enjoy it that way. So it is 2-player approved, because you can play it with 2 players and 2 characters, and it is doable, but I would say it is more enjoyable with more characters, so either 2 players playing 2 characters or more players playing 1 character. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching our review of Gloomhaven. If you want to see another one of my reviews, click over here. If you have any comments, feedback or suggestions, put them in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you next time on 2 Player Quest.